3, 2, 1, showtime!
CO, hello, I am Cade Thomas, and welcome to Double Feature Movie Club. Tonight is Adam Driver night, and joined with us this week, we have Diane and Alex. Alex, we don't have your...
Hi.
There you are. Hey.
Howdy, Alex.
Alex, how are you doing?
My name.
I said Alex.
I'm...
Alex.
Oh, no, you forgot my name on the screen.
Oh, yes, I did. I just put it back on, though. Yes, yeah. You're right.
How's Ohio, Alex?
I'm doing swell. Ohio is going pretty well. Can't complain too much. It's a lot cooler down here than it is down there, that's for sure. I'm going to adjust my camera just a tad so I'm more in line with you guys.
I must say it's kind of cool today
yeah.
In Oklahoma. It was kind of a nice day today.
What's the weather there?
My watch says it's 77, so it is starting to feel like an early fall day.
Yep.
Oh, well, it's 76 here.
Turn.
Oh, wow. So it is cooler.
Yeah. Their hot season's really short. So, Alex, I worked in Ohio for several years, and to all those people that are online that I used to work with, hi, guys. Have you found out about OSU yet? Ohio State.
Ohio State University? The Ohio State University?
The Ohio State, yeah. Yeah, Ohio State. It doesn't matter what the professional football teams are doing in Ohio. It's all about Ohio State. College football.
Is that the Buckeyes? Or is that a different thing?
That's the Buckeyes.
Yeah, okay, good. Not totally wrong about that.
The professional football world is split on Ohio.
Yes.
Walk it through me for that.
Oh, well, I mean, there's just some drama there with the Browns. And then the Bengals lost today, I saw. So,
And then you've got
Ohio is
a good portion of the are also Pittsburgh fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a
so
ton of this.
It's a crazy time right now.
Yeah, but when it comes to college football, it's kind of like Oklahoma. There is only one team. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's two. there's two Oklahoma teams.
Well, there's only one.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Alex, it's been a bit since you've been on here on Double Feature Movie Club. Lots happened since then. You want to fill him in, Diane, of all the crazy things that's happened?
What crazy things have happened? I'm trying to forget. We got to watch a movie where we actually saw an actress sit on the floor and eat a pie from the actual pie container. She didn't cut it or anything. It's like from the container for 15 solid minutes. There was no other sound.
It was okay. It was
no
7. It was 7. It was 8
camera,
minutes.
8 minutes. And there were no camera angle changes. Nothing. She just sat there and shoved pie in her mouth.
And I'll tell you what.
She only swallowed twice.
I think that's my favorite movie we've watched thus far.
It is absolutely so gross. It's my least favorite movie that we've watched so far. Because it was the most boring thing I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Give a name drop. What was the movie?
It's called A Ghost Story. And it was about a guy who dies. Casey Affleck dies. And Rooney Mara, his wife, is sad. And she gets a funeral pie. And she eats that pie for 8 minutes.
The funeral pie.
Well, it's a, don't be, whatever. They give those whatever away. People grieving, they give them a casserole or, in this case, a pie. And she ate it all. And we, later learned, it's like a vegan, because she's vegan. It's like a vegan chocolate pie. And she said she had never ate a pie before. This was her first time eating a pie. Mm-hmm. And it was on camera. Oh. That's Rooney Mara for you.
That was the most fascinating thing about the whole movie.
Yeah.
So, Alex, basically, you don't watch the movies that on our list. As a viewer, you don't.
I don't even think he's a viewer.
Right? As a fan?
I do not. I do not. It took me 4 days to watch these 2 movies, so 3 days. Three days to watch 2 movies. Granted, one of them was a lot slower than the other, I guess. So
which we'll get into. We didn't even say up top. Our movies we're discussing, which is in the title of this video that you're watching, is Paterson from 2016 and The Report from 2019, both starring Adam Driver, which is what Alex is here for. He's a huge Driver head, right?
Oh my god, Driver fan, Driver head.
It's a big Adam Driver fan.
For those of you wondering what I'm doing at home, I'm trying to log into my Twitch account, but I don't remember my password. And now I have to make a new password.
You don't have to do that right now.
I won't take any password. Well, I'm half committed already, so I can't just turn around now.
I want to be clear here. We do have a much more active watchers on YouTube than we do on Twitch. We have not developed a big enough Twitch following. If you are watching us on Twitch, which I know you're not, there's no one there, but there might be. If you are there, hi. If you have stumbled, if you have stumbled onto our Twitch page, thank you. Like and subscribe, and even if it's on the YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. Hit the like button. We say, click all the buttons. If you're listening to this later as a podcast,
all the buttons.
Rate us 5 stars, whatever it is. Well, so what was your weekend like, Diane?
I watched 2 movies yesterday.
Why are my passwords not good enough?
You watch? Is that anything else of merit?
Not really. I've had a kind of a busy weekend, and I don't know that I need to go through all that. What I do need to talk about, though, is your birthday that's coming up.
Yes, my birthday is coming up.
Is it going to be a national holiday, or is it just local?
It's just a local holiday, yeah. Regional, really, yeah.
Regional. Northeastern Oklahoma.
Yeah. They closed down. They shut down the schools, and they have a parade for it. But
are they going to be showing your movie in all of the AV classes across high schools in all of Northeastern Oklahoma?
Yeah, okay. That's what they're going to wheel out the TV and
Yeah.
It's only commercially available in VHS, so they have to put it in one of those old things. Were they still doing that, Alex, when you were in school? Wheel out a TV and put in a VHS?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Those were the best days because they wheeled out that big boxcar. TV, box TV, and it was truly amazing, and you knew you were having a good day that day.
Yeah, which that was elementary school, and then I think we all saw, or at least I saw, this sort of transition away from no longer doing that to having it just on because then everything had smart boards. Yes, everything ended up having smart boards, and so they would just have it hooked up to the computer there and just do a DVD that way. Crazy times.
We once watched a movie in class. We once watched a movie in class.
Was it like a projector?
It was a reel. Yeah, it was a projector. Yeah. It's the only time. Yes, there were no VHS and all that crap. No. Kids in my high school were dying in Vietnam. Get over yourself.
God.
Well, great. Ava did mention earlier,
Okay,
did not
alright.
put this on the on the screen. You just have to take that in stride, Alex. Diane's stories sometimes take a dark turn halfway through.
That's right. They do. We stayed to sit in once because the cafeteria had roaches. So the entire, all 3 grades of our middle school, we stayed to sit in. Because that's what you did in the 60s, right? Yeah.
You protested.
We did. The principal came out along with, we had Ham was his name, and his, the women's counselor, her name was Oates. So Ham and Oates came out and with the megaphones and started screaming at us to get to class, and we were not moving. Yeah, it was fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is fun. I
They
did
called
not.
the police.
I didn't. Oh, they called the police on the.
Oh, yeah.
On a bunch of middle schoolers?
This is what's so great about it. The police cars pull up. They don't even get out, and we all went into the school. Because it was like, oh, the police are here. We better go into class. Yeah. That's how dorky we were. Yeah.
Wow.
It was the 60s. What can you say? People were getting killed at Kent State.
Yeah.
We weren't going to take a chance.
And now we're doing it again in high schools.
That's right. Protest is the American way.
It is. It is. We're founded on protest in a lot of respects.
Oh,
That's right.
I meant dying in high school.
Yeah, I knew what you meant,
Oh,
Alex.
yeah.
But Ava wanted us to mention Ollie. Ollie's also here.
Yes, Ollie. Ollie, yes. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
There's Ollie. There's another one down here on the floor, but I'm not moving the camera for that. I don't think you can see him. Well, maybe you can a little bit down there.
Yeah.
That's Max.
And we sometimes we'll do this in person. We've mentioned that before. We do have the studio here that we can use for in person, but Alex
It's an incredible studio. Incredible.
Alex
amazing.
didn't want to fly out last minute just to talk about these 2 Adam Driver movies.
Yeah, what and it's just in a surprising twist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, did you figure out your password, Alex? Is that what you're?
We made progress, and then I needed to log into my email.
Alex, can you not just drop anything and just forget about that for a second?
No,
just quit obsessing over the login to the Twitch.
I'm trying one more thing, and if this doesn't work, then I'm calling it here. I feel like I put in too much time to just quit.
Great.
I have another way about it though. I think if this doesn't work.
In the meantime, if you're doing that, Alex, I gotta say, I went and saw Barbarian in theaters. It's that one where she checks into that Airbnb and that guy's already there. We saw that. You remember that advertised, Diane?
Yes, I do remember that advertisement. And from what I recall of the advertisement, it was a movie that I never wanted to see. So tell me, was it worth it?
I'll tell you right now. After Everything, Everywhere, All at Once, second best movie of the year. It is
No way.
amazing.
No way.
It was a almost empty
way.
theater. No one hardly was seeing it. If you plan on seeing it, I recommend anyone do not read anything about it. This movie takes some fascinating twists and turns. It was not the movie I thought I was seeing, and it's very pulpy. It's very it's this horror movie with it's kind of campy at times, but it wears that on its sleeve, and the themes of the movie. Oh, it's amazing! It's an amazing film. It's a movie that's like, this is the type of movie I want to see. This is the type of movie that I want to. The twists that it does, the characters, how they kind of tell their themes, and how it's like you think it's going one way, but then it has another sort of thing that's going completely different. I don't even want to say anything about it. I don't think you would like it, Diane, I must say. I know that Ava would not like it. So it's not something that I think I don't even know if a general audience would 100% like it. But if from a horror perspective, one of the best horror movies I've seen in a long time. It is fantastic. It is fantastic.
It has quite a cast. I'm just looking at who is in it.
Yes.
Quite a cast to it too. So
Yes.
Wow.
And sort of how they come in is interesting, is what I'll say. It is not it's not at all what I anticipated, and would highly recommend anyone who's a horror fan to go immediately and go see that movie. It is fantastic.
It's got a 92 on the critics have given it a 92 on Rotten Tomatoes. The
Yes.
audience score is 74, so it's a lot of people seem to like
Cade
this
was
one.
wrong.
I think I've heard some different things. I mean, like, I think if horror fans are going to love this movie. It's right up their alley. But I just think like a general audience who, you know, they see the guy. It's the guy who played Pennywise the clown from It, and you sort of go there and you're like, oh, it's this type of movie. And I think that the marketing makes it seem like this type of movie, and it's marketed perfectly to get people thinking that it's this type of thing. But for horror people's going to be on this, but I think a general audience are going to think like, wait, was I bamboozled here about what the type of movie that this is, and they might be kind of, but, and I think it goes into some camp territory that, I think that people, you laugh at the film at times, and you laugh with the film, and I think the movie knows this. But I think some people will think of it as a little too cheesy at times, and a little bit too like thinking that they were kind of swindled. But boy, did I like it! And it's
a lot of good reviews out there.
Mm-hmm. And it's a movie of our time, and I mean, it has a lot of different things that it's sort of saying in it, and I love it. I love it. I love it. That's the type of movie of like the different layers of different themes that it's talking about, and then just kind of telling it, the way that it tells its story with timelines and things. I won't say anything, but it's great. That's all I'm going to say about it. Go see Barbarian. Okay. So great. We're going to jump in unless anyone has anything else they want to say. Alex, you have anything you want to say before we jump in?
I do.
Okay.
I went through all that work, got logged in. It wasn't even the right Twitch account.
Oh, God.
Apparently I think I just created a brand new one. So that's why I was having such difficulty.
Well, does it matter?
It was the wrong email. I guess it doesn't matter. But I did end up creating a brand new Twitch account. So that was.
So the point of that was what? To make a comment or something? What are you trying to do?
Well, I just wanted to see how many people were on Twitch.
It's going to be 0. Oh, there's one.
There was one at the time.
Okay. Was it you?
You.
It was not. It was not. I didn't even click because if I click it, this computer, my Wi-Fi will explode.
Well, great.
Oh, boy.
Well, thanks for the update, Alex.
Okay. And they say my generation doesn't know anything about computers. Oh my God.
I'm off. I still don't know my email password, but that's a later bridge.
So you said that you wanted to have a podcast with Diane. So
that's right.
You get to now be with Diane.
This is it.
This is it.
This is my second time.
But it is. We have to be nice on this podcast. We need to do a Cades and Friends podcast.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you're interested in the Cade and Friends podcast, but you don't want to commit the full hours yet, catch a glimpse on the Cade Thomas TikTok.
Yeah.
That's a good. Yes.
Yes. And you see if that's the type of thing that you like. I mean, it's different than this podcast. I mean, this one's a little bit less. I mean, I don't know. It's laid back, I think. I think you don't have to be on the spot so much. On Cade and Friends, you kind of had to be a little bit on. But then also we kind of have to be a little bit more thoughtful, I think, in this, right? Diane, do you think we have to be thoughtful?
Yeah, I think we have to be a little bit more serious about this because people are, I'm sure, waiting to hear what our reviews are of these movies before they go out and rent them or watch them.
We're the first people to ever review these movies.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
there's
both
6 people right now waiting to hear.
Yes, they are.
I will say, well, we are on Adam Driver night.
It's Adam Driver night.
If you have not seen Black Klansman, you've got to see it. Mm-hmm. It is absolutely. I think that was the best movie I watched, whatever year that came out. That was such a good movie. It was so funny, and the production of the period was just incredible. Yes, and it does have a Pinto in it, so you've got to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your favorite Adam Driver thing, Alex?
You can't say Star Wars.
Then I guess I'm a Star Wars fan, so I would have said Star Wars. I would have to say, hang on, I have it. It's a movie called The Report.
There we go.
I would say, I guess, would you say House of Gucci, Diane, is your favorite?
You know, not although I thought his performance was really good.
Yeah.
In it.
We saw House of Gucci together.
Yeah, we did, and again, love the production and the costumes were wonderful. I thought Lady Gaga was wonderful. You know, Jared Leto. Every time I see him on screen, it's like I get thrown out of the movie. I might as well just go get popcorn because it's. Yeah. I'm sure he did an excellent job, but he's one of those actors that when he shows up on screen, it's like, oh no.
My favorite thing about House of Gucci was that everyone thought they were in a different movie.
Yeah.
No one got any direction about the tone that this movie would be. Everyone was in completely different movies. And you saw like Lady Gaga, like since she's at the center of this, would like alter her performance to whatever her supporting was.
Whoever she was in the screen with.
Yes.
Yeah. Whoever she's in the screen with, she altered for them.
And it's like, yeah.
I thought it was some great acting, but you're right. It was like every character was in a different movie. Because
Jared Leto was in a broad comedy. He was in like and then like you have like Jeremy Irons, who is like, this is a very serious, I'm telling this character's perspective. This is a real life person, and I'm telling it. Yes. This is about what his perspective is, and then I don't like. I also don't think Adam Driver. He was good in it too, but I don't think he wasn't. He's a very strong actor and can be like the strong part. But I think like he took the back seat because I think he wasn't even clear about really what the assignment was. And then Lady Gaga was just bouncing off of whoever the other person was, which she did great, and she was good and everything. And I love Lady Gaga. I'm gonna be clear here. I love Lady Gaga.
You're a Gaga head.
I'm a Gaga head. Little monster is what they're called.
Yes. So did you see The Last Duel?
No. To me, I must say, Marriage Story, I guess you're supposed to say, is his best performance.
I don't know.
I haven't seen a lot of Adam Driver. I don't watch a lot of movies.
He punches a hole in the wall. You've probably seen that clip everywhere.
That's not that impressive. Come on.
Every day I wake up. What does he say? Every day. I wish you were dead. Something, whatever. It's that scene. Anyways, okay. Him and
all right.
Johansson. I think we've vamped enough here. I did want to say, Alex, previously to last week, our two longest double feature movie clubs were with you, Alex. You were both made them overlong and too much for our audience. Until last week, we broke that record. So I'm sorry to say, Alex, last week's was much longer. And
well, respectfully, I have no intention on breaking that.
Good. I just want to tell you that your record has been broken. So sorry to break that news.
Well, I'm glad I'll at least be in the Cade Thomas wiki that I held the record for longest podcast for at least a bit.
Yeah, you did.
That's what matters,
and that's nothing. That's
what matters.
It's nothing to sneeze at.
You know what I realized? I have forgotten how to read a physical watch that's not digital. Because I now have a hand watch and I can't remember how to read it sometimes.
You mean like you have to think about it for a bit, not like you completely forgot what.
I have to look at it and be like, oh yeah, I have to think about it. So I have to be like, okay, there's the small, There's the big. That's 43. Okay. So it takes me a lot longer than it probably should.
Well, good. Thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that you feel comfortable sharing that.
So anyways, on to Paterson.
Yes, great. Well, who's doing Paterson? Who's doing Paterson?
It's me. I'm Paterson.
Okay, you're doing Paterson. Okay, so Alex will do Paterson. We changed this last minute before air. So, okay. We're going to talk about our two movies, Paterson and The Report. First up is Paterson, and we're going to do our little musical interlude, and then Alex will explain the plot of 2016's Paterson.
Not well. That's not vamping.
But it's supposed to be quick. Okay, do you want me to talk about Paterson? Or, no, we're over to Cade now.
Oh, he's muted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alex, take it away.
All right. So Paterson, 2016. It's a drama romance movie. Starring obviously Adam Driver and oh my gosh, where did it go? Someone else. Where am I now? All right, and I don't know how to pronounce her name. But it stars Adam Driver, who is a bus driver in the town of Paterson, and his name is also Paterson in the movie. And they make a couple small jokes at that expense. And it just follows Paterson's life in the small town, or the seemingly small town or city of small city of Paterson. It's a Monday through Sunday film. Paterson is a poet. I am frozen. There we go. Paterson is a poet, and his day job is a bus driver. He's a poet at night and on his breaks, and he is writing a love poem throughout the movie. And so as you watch more of the movie, you learn more about the love poem. His girlfriend or fiance, but I'm pretty sure it's just a girlfriend, she is a stay-at-home gal, has a lot of ideas. She's a very creative person. She's constantly making art at their home, repainting the house, making new shower curtains, new window curtains. She is a baker, and she has these ideas of becoming a baker and then maybe become a country singer. And so you follow primarily Paterson, his day job, his love poem that he's writing, and then his home life at home, watching this girl that he loves. You can tell he's obviously supporting her and wants her to succeed. And it's just a very slow paced romance love story.
Perfect. Alex, I must say, I know it was on mute for the part, but I died whenever you could not remember the person's name, the lady's name. That was
I could not, and then when I looked it up again, it is I can't even say it. But to pull it back up, I had everything else ready, and that is the one, and I just
yes.
So my immediate opinion on the movie was it started slow. It continued to be slow.
Yes.
It ended slow. I kept waiting for something to happen.
Uh-huh. It's a 2-hour movie in which very little happens, and very little. So you talk about it. It takes place each day. It has a little title card and everything, and it's sort of about like his life is very similar each time. He has like a pattern in which he goes about his whole life. And he's like you say, a bus driver, and there's just different sort of things that he pretty much does the same thing. And then his wife, his girlfriend, we probably need to look that up. I don't remember what she is in that, but
I don't feel like it was very clear.
yes, it was.
No, she's his wife. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, good. Well, cool. We'll call her his wife.
Oh, it is wife.
It's wife. Great. Perfect.
It's his wife.
And so they're going through she's this force that she changes things, and she's very, each day sort of different from her perspective and everything. And anyways, so let's just jump in. What did we think of this? What did you think of this movie, Diane? We'll start with you first.
Okay, you're not going to believe what I think of this movie.
Okay. I don't know what I'm not gonna believe.
Loved it.
Oh.
I loved it. I loved the dreamscape.
Okay.
Apparently most audience.
I did. I loved it. I loved the fact that he's the character that the movie's about.
Uh-huh.
But the action is all around him, not in him, not with him.
Yeah.
Right? So what you're seeing the world through his eyes, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He hears all these conversations around him all the time, and
yes,
and then the dog. But we'll talk about the dog here in a minute. But I loved the fact that he was just there to be a witness of the world.
Yeah. Some would call that a passive character, but yes.
Yeah, but he was taking this one more step.
Yeah.
Right? And he was using...
That's the point of the character. Yes, yeah.
Yes, it's the point of the character.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that the screenplay or the writers used his poetry
mm-hmm.
to express what he was actually seeing and what he was experiencing in the world.
Yes,
and
he didn't show his emotion all that much, but in his poetry, he was kind of like his sort of expression of what he felt. I think the point of the film, I must say, I'm not on the I loved it train. I respect it and I liked it, and I do think it was pretty slow. It was pretty slow, but also intentionally slow. It's like, so you can't get too much fault of it. But because of the structure of the film and because of the structure of the day, you really can't cut out anything, because you have to have it. You have to have all these sort of things happen in order for it to sort of show the repetitiveness of it. So you really can't cut out a sequence here or without cutting out all the sequences like that. So it has to be as long as it has to be. It's one of those films.
And I love the wife. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just gonna. Sorry, there's a small delay. Again, back to having that delay, so I apologize. I enjoyed. I thought. I laughed at some of the repetitiveness, mostly the mailbox parts. But it annoyed me at the very end. The last time it shows the mailbox and he didn't fix it, and it annoyed me beyond any reason.
Well, that's sort of the point, is at the end of the day, it's like that some things, I'll change. Like that, and then just sort of the reveal that the dog sort of who caused that, all that. I love it.
Okay, so here's I just want to talk about the wife for just a moment.
Yeah, I was actually going to get to.
I wore one of her outfits.
Good.
Tonight.
Yeah.
Can you tell? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Black and white.
Yes. Black and white.
For our
yes.
audio only listener, she's wearing a black and
white
shirt.
Black and white. Right. I thought
a lot of circles as well.
Yes.
I thought she had the most work to do in this movie as far as the actress, because she had to be the comic relief. She had to be his muse.
The joke was on her in a lot of respects.
Yeah, in a sense.
It wasn't like entirely. She wasn't like a fully comedic character, but yes. But like there were times in which the joke was on her. You're supposed to almost kind of laugh at her, I almost think.
Right.
At times.
And the thing was that she was the character who really got him. Everyone else talked to him, right? But really didn't have a conversation with him. But there's one scene where he tells her about the poem he's writing about the blue matches, and she asks him if he included the fact that the font was the megaphone.
It's the megaphone,
And it was like the look he gives her was just pure love at that moment. And that's, you didn't have to hear him say how much you loved her. You saw it right there because she got him. You know, that she knew him.
There's part, I mean, like,
you could tell, and I did enjoy that a lot about it, is that you could very much tell that, like, they are very much, you know, they have their different ways of showing it. He is very silent, but he's writing it, and she's much more open about it. But you can just tell, especially with her, that they are together.
Yeah.
The point, so what I found interesting about this movie was the sort of perspective that each of them sort of brought of the idea of what art should be, and like the idea of what you should, whether you should like let this art influence you or influence, like from his perspective, he lets the sort of things come in, and his art is for himself. It's for his own sort of, it's him and the art, and instead of like, whatever, you know, it's like that sort of perspective, loving you and the art in you. And so she was someone who very much, you know, he worked on this one thing, and it's just these poems, and it was for him. It wasn't for some sort of mass consumption or whatever. It wasn't for some sort of adoration that he would get from people enjoying his poems. It was literally just for himself, for expressing his own version, his own love and his own view of the world, and working that out silently for himself and becoming a better artist for his own internal validation of like becoming better. And whereas her perspective is almost, she's trying to find the thing of trying to, like, whether this is this bakery, whether this this music, you know, the bad way of looking at that is like she's trying to find the thing that makes her famous or something that people would enjoy or whatever. But it's just a different view of art, in which it's something that's like you could pick up here, pick up there. Her mind changes from day to day about what she wants to do, and that sort of friction that comes from someone who, from his perspective, of someone who's working this hard on this one craft and trying to become good at that, versus her of like picking up something and dropping it, and then like you're expected to just follow that sort of mind process of someone who does that. I found that to be very fascinating and very something that I relate to in a lot of respects, of seeing people who pick up and drop things and at a whim and don't really work on the craft 100% over and over again, because they just want different things. They want to pick up different things. Yeah. Here and there.
So Ava put a comment out there that I agree with.
Well, I thought the point is that you can find joy, beauty. Oh boy, this is too long, Ava. Shorten the thing. So I thought the point is that you can find joy, beauty, and love even in a simple, meaningless, mundane life, seemingly mundane life. I thought it was a lot of that. I thought it was a fascinating movie, but yeah, it was slow. It was a slow film, but that
the thing that something I just did not understand. So I felt like I thought they were doing a lot of foreshadowing in several sequences. They mentioned twins at the beginning, and then twins showed up throughout the movie.
Let's talk about twins.
And then
let's not move on.
And then there were like other things.
You're trying to move on, Alex, but I want to talk about twins. So you can either talk about
I didn't understand the twins.
So let's talk about the twins, because I think that's a very, very important thing. I think that's something that a lot of people leave the film, and I've seen different things of why this is and what this is. But let's talk about the twins before we move on there, because sorry, I'll keep them shorter. The twins. So the film opens with her talking about a dream she had in which there were twins, and it's almost, to me, this is my perspective of it, is this sort of people talk different things about what this could mean. My perspective, and I like this film, it leaves it open to interpretation. I thought it was almost like this idea of dreamlike state, and like this was sort of a idea of like he's almost has these daydreams about things, and him like, whereas her dreams are at night and everything, and her dreams are like normal people, they're at night, but like with an artist and everything, you enter these sort of dreamlike states, and in that sense is there's these twins, there's this idea that like in your head in dream states you create carbon copies of things in order to fill up the gaps. And so you create multiples of these sort of situations. And that's well known that you can't dream up new faces and different things like that. She talks about twins and this sort of idea that like we fill out these things. And him listening to conversations, seeing these different things, it is him having these sort of daydreams in which carbon copies exist. These twins are all of that. And that's my interpretation of it. I've heard people say that it's has to do with it's some sort of physical reminder of the fact that she keeps asking him to make copies of his work. And so it's some sort of reminder of the fact that he's supposed to make this copy of his thing. I don't know. That's one interpretation too. I like, I think to me it adds to this sort of dreamlike portion of this movie, that the idea that there are these sort of, he's in and out of consciousness in a lot of respects because he's in this sort of art plane of, consciousness.
Yeah. So he's got his where he's going through life as one thing, but in his mind, he's experiencing it a different way. So like a dual universe for him.
Yeah.
I like that. I simply saw the twins and was like, okay, what's the payoff going to be?
And they got older.
Like I noticed
they did get older.
The twins
They did.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I noticed the twins very early on, and I was like, oh, okay. So, and then it happened again and again, and I was like, so there's going to be a payoff for this. And then,
and this movie plays a lot with that, with what you're bringing up, the idea that like most films have setups and payoffs. This movie sort of purposely puts pins in things in order for you to expect something to happen. You keep thinking with this movie that there's going to be one from a screenwriting perspective, you think there's going to be an inciting incident, and that's what you're sort of waiting on from I think a filmmaker perspective, and seeing sort of a screenplay that this thing has to have an inciting incident, and eventually you're like, we're really far into this movie and there's not been an inciting incident. But from a film viewer perspective, I think you're waiting for something to sort of shake this film up to something that's going to be bad. I think you're waiting for something bad to happen, really awful to happen, and you set up the dog thing. That's set up real early on, that this dog could be kidnapped. You brought up all these possible bad scenarios that can happen in life, and what it does is it makes you sort of think about, oh my goodness, what's this inciting incident? What's this bad thing that's going to happen? And then for you to get to the end, and the bad thing that happens was something that is more normal of a bad thing to happen. It's very mundane, but it affects it much more deeper than something that you wouldn't, like some horrible event that you think is going to happen in this movie. It's something so deeply personal that it kind of breaks your heart in a way that
I enjoyed that whenever it happened, he just kind of was like, bummer. And then the next day, he's just like, I hate you, dog. But he let the dog back in the house. He wasn't mad anymore. He was just like, yeah, I'm just.
But what can you do in that situation? What can you do? Like that's sort of the point, is the mundanity of it, is that you can't. What's he gonna do? Get rid of the dog? It's like you can't. You can't be too mad, and then but he says to him in one of the best lines of the movie is, "I hate you, Marvin." It's brilliant. It's brilliantly acted, and it's brilliantly all the scenes. Ava mentioned that earlier. That one of the best scenes. I've said this before. You both know my opinions of the dog variety. But I think this is one of the best uses of a dog in all of cinema I've ever seen. I think that I loved Marvin in this. I found him to be
We don't
incredibly.
watch too many dog movies though. But yeah, I did love Marvin in this. It was like Marvin was trying to like shake him out of his stupor. You know,
Yes.
that's he would go and hit the mailbox. To just shake him out. Wake up. That's what he's like saying. Wake up. If you're not going to wake up, then I'm going to chew up all your stuff.
My favorite funny thing in
that.
this movie, I'm gonna quickly say this, is a Marvin thing. It's really early on when he sits down at the couch and the cut between Marvin and the paintings of Marvin is one of the funniest. It doesn't. There's no line. It's just all editing. It is all, and it's brilliantly timed, and it is hilarious. It is a hilariously silent, completely just edited scene that I just laughed hysterically at.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
It's
Perfectly done.
The dog was great, and it just I don't know. I enjoyed that. It was just like, this is very well just some typical family out there. He goes for a walk every night. He stops at the bar. He has a beer. He talks to some friends, and he just. I mean, it's a good movie, but it's just a slow movie. And then, I mean, you can assume what's going to happen. That because she keeps bringing it up. Honestly, the way the movie went, I'm surprised it didn't work out. Where he ended up making a copy of his stuff. I'm kind of surprised that didn't end up happening. I thought for sure he was going to pull out of his bag papers of copies of his paper, because he went over to his bag and he opened it at after everything happened, and I thought for sure he was going to be like, "Oh, I made the copies," and I was actually kind of shocked that it didn't.
No, yeah, no, you're expecting a man to do something his wife told him to do. That first was your first mistake.
What I loved about this is that in a different movie, because they both have they would get in an argument about who is to blame for this, or because they both are kind of to blame for the fact that this thing got destroyed. And I could see an argument in a different movie ensuing that they're sort of pointing fingers as to why this sort of happened, and they do slightly, but that's not what the movie's about. But I found that to be incredibly fascinating too. That you can sort of see from both perspectives of the sort of in some respects, she's telling him to get a copy of it in order to if he'd done that, then he would have preserved the whole thing, and this would have all been for nothing. But she doesn't ever say that, right. but she could have, and that would have been an awful thing to say in that situation. At the same point, his book probably wouldn't have been in the place that it was had she had not been egging him on to do this sort of thing, anyways. So, but I thought the movie. It had some interesting things, and at the end of the day, it sort of sticks with you. It's one of those that's during it, I'm not a huge fan of it, and I'm like, what's the point? What's the point? And then once you get to the arrival, the end of the station, it's oh, and then you kind of see why they told the story in the sort of way that they did. And was it boring to sort of a chore to get through? And it was, but I do think at the end of the day, it did have some very fascinating sort of things that it was telling, and what it was sort of you kept thinking something was sort of going to go wrong, and yet it ended up being, and it did, but in a way that you were not really expecting, but it made sense for the story.
I kind of wondered, because she kept telling him, you need to make copies of this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that something was bad was going to happen to that book.
But you this movie kept thinking that something catastrophic was going to, because it's obsessed with this idea that something catastrophic is going to go wrong, his dog's going to get dog napped, there's these things in a different movie that would be the sort of thing. So the dog's going to get dog napped. The guy brings that gun to the bar. Oh my God, what's going to happen with it? It's we keep getting these ideas of this violence.
The fireball.
The bus is going to explode into a fireball, and everyone's really obsessed about these horrible, huge, horrific things that's going to happen. But rarely does that happen to ordinary people.
Right.
It's these
Life is not like that.
Yes,
Yeah.
the bus doesn't explode into a fireball. It just has an electronic issue, and it ruins the whole afternoon for those people and everything. And but
I tell you
I-
my biggest gripe.
go ahead.
Go ahead, because this might turn into a small rant. It might turn into like a Cade and Friends podcast type of rant, actually. So I'll let Diane go first.
Well, first off, what we haven't talked about is this. The movie is about 5 days in this person's life. And you go through every step of his daily existence for those 5 days. Now, if you sit back and you look at your own life, your individual 5 days are pretty mundane.
Yeah.
And the things that make every day different are the people you interact with.
Yep.
And I love the fact that it started off with the guy who had every day he had a different set of, oh my God, my life is destroyed.
Yes.
I mean, that was the beginning of his day.
Yeah.
And the end of his day, when he goes to the bar and he has these conversations with these people that he sees every single day, it's still different. You know, that adds the color to his life, and that I thought that was really interesting from that perspective. And I thought that's what really makes a movie. If you take anybody's life, 5 days out of it, and say, what was it really like?
Yeah. Well, and there's the look forward to the weekend. Everyone has some sort of thing that they're in, and that's brought up throughout the entire week. Yeah. And so,
all of that.
And the fact that there's some sort of event, you know, and then promised you're going to do this, and then it's on the week, you know, it's like, yeah, I did. Yeah, at the end of the day, I think really did like the movie of that. But yeah, Bulldog Paintings.
And I think it's kind of stay with you a little bit from that perspective.
I do. I thought that something that was showed a lot about her character is like, so she keeps painting this house and doing different things in this house, and keeps removing, and then you know, like he's just like, oh, what's going on here and everything. But like one of the great visual things is like he gets home and she's painting the doorways. And she has like started and stopped several doorways. Like they just the tops of them, and she's in the middle of painting, and she keeps starting a new doorway. Is just shows, I think, so much of that character of just like she's wanting to paint it, but she just wants to move. She moves on to the next thing, and it's just half done, and then she's like, okay, got it. And so like each doorway is just half painted because she won't just complete a single thing. She won't just finish the one door frame before you move on.
And he's just accepted her.
Yes.
For that.
Yes,
he's
accepted
that.
Yes.
That's who she is.
Yes. Yeah. And so there's not like that hit like where that would be a conflict, and it is like it's shown like their perspectives are in complete conflict of each other, but never once is it like them trying to convince the other person that they're correct and that their way of life's correct. It's just like they understand this is the other person's sort of perspective on matter, and this is how they are, you know. But it is shown. Yeah. It is the conflict of the movie. It is the conflict of the movie, but the characters aren't in conflict with each other.
And what Ava said is that, if you want to pop that up, Cade.
Which one?
Which one? Ava's written my dissertation.
Oh, the bottom two sentences.
The last one is what you're saying? That one?
How about something related to?
How about that one?
Yeah, because that is something that, because like he's just constantly supporting her, and because you know he just has this kind of very mundane life, but you know he is like, yeah, buy the guitar. He's like, yeah, do the painting. Yeah, make the cupcakes. And so he's just constantly supporting her, and just going about his day to day. You know, she's making those cupcakes and makes $200. She buys a guitar that's several $100s. And then because she was wanting to be a baker, but now she wants to be a country music singer.
Yeah.
But what does it matter? Because he's supporting her.
Yeah, I think they kind of get each other from that perspective. Yeah. Their relationship.
I do think he's silently irritated at her at times. I read it that way.
Yeah, when the guitar, you could tell, because he brought it up a couple of times. How 200? What?
Or an Esteban.
And then Esteban, did he deliver it himself?
Yes, yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which is that kind of passive aggressive thing you see in a lot of marriages, you know.
Mm-hmm.
overall, though, he you know,
He did
to
it.
her,
Mhm.
he was trying to be supportive of her.
Yeah.
I mean, she
It was
did
it
teach
unclear
herself that song.
what? Yeah, no, and yeah, a pretty great singer. I mean, she was an
Yeah.
actress playing the thing, but whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, like oh well, So it wasn't like she was awful. She was actually pretty solid for first day and all that.
I loved her.
Yeah, I don't know. At times I'm like I don't know if I'm supposed to be irritated at both characters, because I was at times pretty irritated with both of the characters, of just like, oh goodness gracious. Yeah. Okay. Did you have something, Alex, that you wanted to bring up?
Yes. The only thing, and this might get some dislikes, a couple of down votes and unappreciatives, but
geez, Alex, we're trying to operate a thing.
This is set in what, like 2016 or whatever. Like, it's obviously set in like a today's date kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he does not have any type of phone or technology.
Purposefully, he says that he doesn't want one.
Yeah, he's purposeful about that.
And I didn't like that. I was like, why? I mean, now it's 2022, and there's people who still don't have phones. It's get with the program.
That's his character, Alex. I don't know.
I don't care. I didn't like it. It was 2016. He's a young adult male. He needs to have a phone.
It is bizarre that, like, I don't know. I mean, like,
did you watch the other movie?
I did.
Just asking.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched them both.
I just wondered. Yeah. Okay.
He
And you're still asking that. Okay.
Yeah. No.
I'm just.
You don't know anyone that is off the grid?
I know a couple of people, but what's the point? Life is too mundane without technology. We're only getting more technology. Adapt.
Okay. Well, we're streaming live through technology to our audience, Alex. So
from a guy who can't remember his password.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean,
I just got a Galaxy Watch, adapting.
Uh-huh. That's that character and everything. I did want to note two interesting things here about this movie. The girl who's a poet. We want to talk about that?
I know. I love that scene. And
oh my goodness, she's a great actress. Well, you don't see
she is.
Child actresses. I was like, wow, child actors in general. No, I typically am like, whatever. But she was great. She was incredibly great. And my thing about it, though, that it's brought up. This is part of this sort of dream state theory that I have of this whole thing, of the fact that she has an exact notebook like his, and there's this again is this twin, and the wife has so many questions about her that seems to suggest that this didn't really happen. This event didn't really happen, or that like she even has questions about the fact that this thing could happen. Because of the fact, like, she has a notebook just like yours, and like just a lot of stuff about that I found to be very, very interesting. Of like, and this movie's filled with little things that I think is supposed to suggest what's real and what's not, and like, and what are. And
is
what
he crazy? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying he's crazy as much as she shares what happens in her dream state every morning, and he doesn't. That perhaps, and I do like the theory that he is daydreaming, and there's these ideas, like, you're trying to tell me he goes to a waterfall I guess the waterfall's there, but like, how does that make sense in the middle of the day to go to when he's driving this sort of bus and doesn't really, there's just different things that to me suggest that there are scenes in which take place that aren't logically don't make sense. And that's sort of the point of the film, is that there's these sort of dream state sort of things. That's the way I interpret the film, because even like the point of that conversation was her acting like she was that mean like that wasn't possible, or that was it's drawing attention to that there's a little bit too many things that would pop up that are,
you know, and since you pointed out that like the twins get older each time, I guess it does give like some credence to like, I mean, you know, the twins almost could represent like you're getting closer and closer to the end because they're getting older and older. You're getting closer and closer to the bad thing happening, which is
that kind of snaps him out of that sort of thing. Yeah, I do think,
because you don't see any twins after that.
No, you don't.
I mean, there's only like 20 minutes. There's only 20 minutes left, but
yeah, but you don't see any twins after. I must say, I do think the twins he met at the bar was before he met the two girls, right? So I mean, it doesn't necessarily get older each time, but they're by the end of it, the ones at the bus thing were an old twins.
The ones on the bus are the ones that get older each time.
Yes.
The ones in the bar don't. But but he knew one of the guys.
Yes.
Already. And his brother was in town. Unless you're saying all those people in the bar are not real either.
No, I think the people in the bar were. I think that they were. Perhaps that one is real, and the ones that he sees around aren't. You know, I don't know. I do think that there's just some. The twins are fascinating, and that there's things to be read there and things to be sort of dissected about that. I think the other thing that kind of warrants dissection of what they're saying about what the film's saying is.
So twins deserve to be dissected.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes, but the other one that's fascinating was the Japanese poet, the guy who came from Japan at the end. That's fascinating, and that is meant to be open for interpretation. And I think that is a very, very much left open. I think that there's a lot of things that you can go down, a lot of avenues you can go down that kind of makes it a different film, or makes it even interesting of what that could mean, because I do think it's suggesting something, and it's suggesting different things. To me, it was sort of like a twist sort of thing. I do think that like it was dancing around some different things. I think that it was a different, without leaning too far down that avenue. I do think that I read one theory, which I do really, really like as a possibility. It's a different type of film, you know, if you sort of view it this way. But if you look at Jim Jarmusch's other things, he does tend to lean into sci-fi, horror, he does do some different things in that sort of aspect. But one theory was that he was a time traveler. That guy was a time traveler, being that the film, in one of Paterson's poems, he talks about how you can view time through different ways, or like that we think of dimensions as
the dimensional
dimension, and that the fourth dimension is time. And like in the point of that typically is in the movie that we move forward in time. Like the idea is presented that this is, you know, time's very important to this film, but like perhaps this guy is also a time traveler going through a different dimension, which is time. This is brought up in the film, and it's a really big point. It's brought up several times in the film that there is a fourth dimension of time, and he comes there saying that there's a lot of poets that come from this place, and that he is essentially the person who spurs Paterson on to perhaps become a poet in the future, that he's there to sort of spur him to become the poet that he is meant to be, and gives him sort of the blank page in order to start that. Is the sort of, in the idea of the aha, the sort of moment that this is the pivotal point to a lot of these people, and that perhaps he's doing that. At the very least, he is a person who comes and makes him is the pivot point for him to actually launch and do this career, or to restart being a poet. Not really a career, but to really start, to not give up that art. That is the point of that character. Whether or not it's a time travel situation, or it's him working through this mental thing again, like in a daydream sort of situation, that he's creating an external force that knows all the things that he knows about poetry and why it's important and everything, and creates an external force of like he's, and then builds him up to become a poet again. I think it's open to interpretations in different ways, and I did like that a lot. And I think both ways you can look at it, and I think it's a very, very interesting scene from either perspective. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I mean, that's definitely that's definitely interesting because it also alludes, because there's constantly that famous wall in that bar that they're always looking at, and so I mean, it kept feeling like it was going to allude to him possibly going to be up on that wall one day.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot about like sort of fame or like becoming. Yes, there is a lot of that, and so I do think. There is perhaps, yes. You're right, Alex. And there's a lot about time in general. I mean, just the passing of time with the wristwatch, the idea that it takes place in this sort of time is very, very important to the film. And so when I read that theory, I was like, oh, that is a fascinating theory. That's not how I interpret it. I interpreted more of the daydream situation. But I do think that time is an interesting way of looking at that, because it is brought up that people could, within his poetry, and whether or not that is him creating someone who gives him that step within the daydream, like he's almost looking at him as a time traveler and giving him that sort of sense. But there is this idea that he talks about traveling through different dimensions in respect to even time.
Now that you say that, I remember some of the people on the bus, two of the instances. The very first one are those two guys talking about these girls that they met like a day before or a couple days before. And that like, oh, I'm going to call her in a couple days. And then there's the two kids talking about anarchy, and they're talking about someone from the past, like a famous anarchist. And then they're like, any other anarchist here? Because like he went to Italy. And so there's a lot of like time stuff being mentioned there. So I feel like there's a lot of credence there.
And there's something to the fact of what Paterson is, and like the idea that like there's these lot of people that came that are famous out of here, and like even poets, and this idea that we're very much products of what these sort of past things are, and even the cities that we are in. I did find it fascinating, like with what Diane was saying, how he's a like almost a mirror to what he's experiencing that day. Mm-hmm. And so like even days where like there's more negativity, it's a more negative sort of like, it's like days sort of feed into each other because of this ecosystem that this whole city takes place in. And he's just a mirror to that. So there's some days that are a little bit more, I don't remember which day it is, if it's Wednesday or whatever, but I thought there was more, like there was a day that was particularly, I think, more downbeat because of everything that was sort of feeding into that. Great.
It's hard to find beauty in art in every day of your life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I thought Method Man comes in. He's the guy who's, rapping at the laundromat. I thought that was a cool little thing with him.
I love the Chidi from the Good Place.
Oh,
was in it.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Well, great. Anything you want to say? Last thing, I guess we'll go into our ratings unless anyone has anything to say, more importantly. It's not Ava had a thing, it's true. The girl poet and the Japanese man he was alone with. It could have been from another mention or sprung from his imagination. Yeah, just an interpretation of the film. Okay. Diane, what are you going to give this movie?
I'm going to give this movie 3 beers.
Okay, 3 beers.
Well, I'd give it 5 beers because it was 5 days and you had a beer every day, but that might be too much. Yeah.
Let's see. We have the clinking beer emojis, but you just want the single beer emoji.
I'm going to see. He had 1 beer every day, except for the day that they went on the date. So, yeah.
Okay, so 3 beers. 4 beers?
Yeah, do 4 beers because he had 1 every day. Okay. There you go.
Perfect.
Well, there were 7 days because it did Monday through Sunday.
But he didn't have a beer on the weekends, right?
He only had.
Yeah, he didn't have. Yeah, no, he didn't have a beer on the weekends.
And I couldn't figure out it. Yeah.
I'm gonna give this a bus. Give it 3 dogs.
Oh, the dog.
I'm gonna give it a bus and a fireball. Okay.
There you go.
It's really a meter, but yes. I thought that was a funny little thing over and over again was the fact they all kept saying it could have exploded into a fireball.
Yeah.
That was
And-
funny.
Well, if I may, I would give it 3 turtles because it was very slow.
Wow, Alex, did you not like this movie?
I liked it, but I mean, I would never watch it again.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that boat. I might not watch it again. How many turtles did you say? Just 2? What'd you say?
3. I was thinking 3 out of 5. So
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So, would you recommend this movie, everyone? Would you recommend recommend this movie, Alex? You can be honest. So let's not talk you out of it.
No, I wouldn't. If you're going through the Adam Driver movies, yeah, I'd recommend it. But
We're having an Adam
if you're
Driver
looking
night.
for a movie to watch, no, I wouldn't recommend this.
It would have been. I don't know if I could have finished this movie had I have not had to for this like this. It is, but I'm at the end of the day, I'm glad I did. I think it's a movie that I do think it's better once you get to the end of the thing to reflect on it, and it's more of an experience that's like, okay, I get the point and all that. And I ultimately, I think it sticks with you. It's in a lot of respects, this is a Mississippi Grind situation, where I do think do I think it's as great as that? No, I do not. But I do think that the highs that it has and the sort of openness to interpretation, I do think it makes it very fascinating, and it should be studied. And it is something that is from a perspective that I really do find very interesting. And I do like this movie, and I do need to watch some more of Jim Jarmusch's things. We originally had another one of his on here, but I don't think it's on for our season. But
have you seen the vampire one?
Yeah, that was the one that was going to be on our list. It was on our original list, but I had not seen it.
I would love to have seen that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Now I do want to see it though.
Yeah, I know. I kind of wish we would have put it on. Wish we would have done a double thing with that instead. But yeah, I don't think it's on our list. It might be. Who knows? We might kick something off because I do wish I saw that. I did see his zombie, that one, only the Dead something or whatever with that, with him, with Bill Murray and everything, and Adam Driver's in it, and it's a comedy, and it's interesting. I don't love it, but it had some interesting parts in it. Great. Okay. Would you recommend it, Diane?
Yes, I would.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend it, and don't give up on it.
Yeah, don't give up on it.
Yeah.
I would also agree with that. Like it is really good, and I would recommend it at the end of the day.
If you're trying to watch a movie with a big payoff, though, this is not it.
That's an emotional payoff. Yeah.
If you're into superhero movies, this is not the movie for you.
No, right? It's not. I mean, it's not even. Yeah, it's a fascinating watch, is what I would sort of say. It's a more of a it's a fascinating. If you want to sort of think about something, that's what I liked about it. It was the sort of thought that it sort of it conjures. I guess that's it. I think we've discussed this to the point of whatever. That's Paterson. It's kind of a split vote, but that's most of the time here. We do have a little bit of a split vote. Yeah, great. Next, we're going to talk about the movie The Report from 2019. Diane will give a rundown of that movie. It's our second movie for Adam Driver Night. So
that's right.
We'll see after our intermission. Be sure to grab some popcorn from the concession stand.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's intermission time. All these delicious treats are waiting for you at the refreshment stand. Delicious fresh popcorn, ice-cold cola, and candy you know and love. They're all ready for you now, so you won't have to miss any of the feature. Come and get them.
And now, on with the show.
I don't know. I have.
Hello.
Yeah.
So we are at the halfway point of this, an hour and a half in, which means we have another hour and a half to go. Oh,
actually, no, we don't. Hi. So let's talk about The Report. For those of you who have not seen this, this is The movie itself is based upon a true story. And the screenplay was written based upon an article from Vanity Fair who outlined how all of this came about. So I'm going to read to you the description portion of it. Said in 2009, Senate staffer Dan Jones, played by Adam Driver, an employee of California Senator Diane Feinstein, was put in charge of a bipartisan investigation into the CIA's use of torture post 9/11. He and his team spent the next 3 years shifting through CIA documents, memos, and emails in search of concrete answers. The resulting 7,000-page report proved unequivocally that the CIA's so-called enhanced interrogation techniques were not only barbaric and immoral, but utterly ineffective. And for people who remember when this occurred, I think it was this was a fascinating portrayal of how one person can make such a huge difference in the world. Now, let's talk. I want to know what you guys think about the way that the film is presented, where it does the flashbacks. It goes back and forward in time. You cannot play a video game and watch this movie. You have to pay attention.
Yeah.
You have to listen to what they're saying. Every word is important in this movie, and every scene, because it's a lot. It's very complicated.
It's kind of a documentary kind of thing. I mean, it's very fact focused. It's very well. What I mean is, like, it's not. It's a tough film. Like the last film is overtly. You have to like think of the themes and think of the really open for dissection and really analyzing. This is not that movie. This is kind of the exact opposite in that respect. It's very straightforward. There's not really, arcs and things. It's a fact-based movie about really it's kind of a message film, but it's also just really dramatizing this time and this era and this really specific story, and keeping it so that it's a digestible to an audience and that people can understand it. And I think serves a really good purpose. I think I do enjoy these types of movies. These are kind of the other types of movies I really like, is these like political thrillers that are like real life stories. It's fun.
All the President's Men. Kill the Messenger.
Yes.
I mean, all those where people have put in so much effort to get the truth.
Yeah.
To the bottom of what the truth is. And then at the same time, I think the one thing that this film did a good job of is the way people in government reacted after 9/11. Mm-hmm. You talk about timely, given today's anniversary date.
Which was not planned.
Back,
Now that I did point that out, that this was not a planned thing. That we did plan Adam Driver night, but we did not know that it was going to be on this day. Yeah,
this day. So so there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of this is the first time something like this has happened in the United States. People were human. They just reacted to it, and they were trying to find everything in their power to keep it from happening again. And they good decisions were made, bad decisions were made, a lot of politics involved in all of it. But the thing was that came to light out of this investigation was that the CIA realized fairly early on that this was an ineffective way of going about getting information. But because of the bureaucracy, the personalities involved, etc.
Once the wheel starts turning, it's hard to unstop it.
Titanic,
yeah.
And so, the captain was going down with the ship on that one. But I love the fact that it also shows within our country, there are people who are unafraid of the truth. And they are going to go after it no matter what. And I loved Adam Driver's character in this because he's actually portraying a group of people in reality. Mm-hmm. But as an actor, seeing these two movies back to back, you talk about a range. Mm-hmm. I mean, he went from being so quiet and self, his perspective is all within his totally introspective, to being out there and being passionate and demanding people.
And this
pay
character
attention to
does go on an arc. I mean, I said there was an arc, but his character
Yeah.
does go on like he's like just a Senate staffer who's sitting there just trying to get the work done, and like very supposed to be kind of emotionally removed from the situation. That's kind of why he's selected for this, is
Yeah.
that he is sort of apolitical and like just does the work and everything, and looks at the thing unemotionally. That's sort of the idea, is he's brought on there to be kind of the unemotional look at this thing. But then by the end of it, he's like, why is no one caring about and like is very impassionate about this, and to the point that like that gets him in trouble too, is just how much he cares about this situation. And I think that was a great arc.
Yeah, but he's always stayed true to himself.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he could have released all of this to the press.
Yes. And in a different movie,
even-
that would be the case. Yeah.
Well, and
And it's happening. Sorry, a different time. Yeah, sorry. It's not even a movie. It's a real life situation. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's very, very
They
similar.
wanted to do this the right way.
Yes.
And that's
It's very similar to the
what
Pentagon
makes-
Papers in a lot of respects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But he went and he says this in the movie that he wants to do this the right way.
Yeah.
And of course, Annette Bening's in it, which I finally talked Ava into watching it because Annette Bening is one of her favorites. So
Yes.
yeah, she did watch. I told her just to close her eyes when he did the torture scenes, which I thought were
When the scene turned yellow.
yeah.
Only watch the blue scenes.
Don't watch that part. Yeah, that kind of thing. But you could tell that the people who were even involved really hated it too. I mean, I think they were fair from the perspective that the people who were having to
Some of them
initiate
hated it.
really the CIA people, not the contractors who made $80 million. No, they pretty well liked it. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. I would
They were
say
almost
even
comedic.
there was they were very much they wanted it, and they just the fact that it starts out with like that PowerPoint scene that and then like
neither one of these guys had any experience or education or anything that would make them experts in this field.
yes, and like
in
and the
any way,
fact
shape,
that
or
like
form.
no question they were like, well, what is it? And they go through each of the things that they're going to do, and like they have like these names for it, and they have like all these slides of information, and it's like horrible stuff, but it's like with graphics of like little stick figures and everything, and it's about really like one. They talk about how the budget ballooned. Yesterday it was it was whatever X amount of dollars, and now it's whatever you need it to be. They say, like, and that is what happened there in that situation. Yeah. Okay. Well, first off, I mean, Alex, did you like this movie? Did you? I don't know if "like's" the right way. Did you? Would you enjoy it?
I didn't know what to expect at first, and I didn't know it was like a true story until I don't know, like a bit into it. I just thought it was going to be one of those, like political type, movies, and then it was like, oh my God, no, this is real, and then it made me mad because at the end it's like no one was ever charged, and But the right thing ended up happening in the end, but it almost didn't happen because of different politics. It was Democrats versus Republicans, and it just almost didn't come out because of that.
Well, it's even more complicated than that. It was in fighting within the Democrats. That was like in the sort of what the perspective of governing should be, and like where should the line, and like, I find that to be very fascinating too, about like, because you could see the perspectives from a political arena, what the two sides of that situation. But then you had Adam Driver on the other side. That's just like, that's not even should be the point. What we should be doing is the thing for what's the greater good in this situation. You see this conversation happening still to this day about various points about like what should be the perspective, and like should we even really be thinking about the greater good, or should we be thinking about the political ramifications of this sort of situation that happens still to this day?
Right. And where do you draw the line in oversight?
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as Diane Feinstein says several times through the movie, is the job of Congress is to be oversight for the CIA. There is no police force that's going to go out there. It has to be the Congress that does this. Now, that said, they get to choose what they're going to be oversighting about. And to her, to Diane Feinstein, and to other members, and Republicans and Democrats, this was important.
Yeah.
And but when it came down to putting their power on the line, this is where you see that shift. You know, Senator Udall, I mean, he lost everything because he stood up for this and said, no, this is wrong. You know, and he got voted out of office for it because it was, because there was this whole PR thing going on from the CIA side and from Cheney and those guys that, this is not true.
Well, if they ever just started looking at, like, I mean, they all were violating the Geneva Convention, and that's sort of the idea, like, and then if you just start the domino effect of all that, like, they'd all be sort of brought up in that, but of course that would never happen and everything. But yeah, I mean, like, if wrongdoing was ever sort of pointed at, then the fingers would be pointing everywhere because of,
right,
yeah.
The thing is that what kind of country are you going to be, right? I think John McCain, which was his actual speech that he said on the floor.
Yes.
I think he had it in a nutshell. Are you going to be the kind of country that will do something like this or not? And you have to decide what's, I didn't have as much problem with the people in the CIA not being held accountable because I think it just dominoed on them, and
well, they were pointed to that's like, hey, you got to do something about this, and you got to, and it's like, and it was rested on their sort of shoulders of like, this can never happen again, and what are you going to do about it? And you better be doing everything you can do to stop this from happening and so you had a lot of people that sort of sit there and was like, well, we have to do the most thing because we are being asked to, and it will be pointed to. If something bad happened, they'll point to it. Well, why did you miss this sort of thing? And that even sort of happens in this movie to a certain extent, that they get pointed to, that say, well, you caused this to not happen because you missed it. Yeah. But it's ineffective. What they just, the point of this movie is that that's the whole sort of thing, is that what they landed on is horribly inhumane and horribly against every sort of thing that we've agreed upon with the Geneva Convention and all that during warfare and all that. But more importantly than that, well, not more importantly, but also just importantly, is that it is ineffective, that this does not work. It has never worked. And that's sort of the point of the film, is that this is not how it does not work.
It doesn't work. And they hurt innocent people.
Yeah.
And by doing this, they created more terrorists.
Yeah, they radicalized more people. Yes.
Yeah, more people were radicalized because of it. And that was where, the fallacy of it.
Yes.
So I think the one thing that I really came away with it, because, I'm a little bit of a political junkie and have been for a long time, but I love the fact that we can show people in power doing the right thing. Because so many times we show people in power doing the wrong thing. Mm-hmm. And there are people who care and really and truly want to do the right thing, that are involved for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And most of them are the staffers.
Yeah.
They're apolitical. They don't, that's their job. They're civil servants, and that's what they do for a living.
And this is, in some respects, I mean, like, it's a movie about, like, the system sort of working the best it can. It is about, like, this.
And as bad as it can. It's like both.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You have examples of the worst and the best.
Yes. And so, and it was fascinating to have sort of at the end of the day, the sort of message being that, like, he believed in the system of government and the fact that, like, that was going to work out, and then it ended up working out. I mean, like, it was that, I mean, it's as best as it could have. But, like, several, I mean, like, so many years wasted, or maybe not, you want to say wasted, but a lot used to this end. Like, I mean, years of his life that he dedicated, and all the people involved. And they were there was that great scene with one of the staffers there that was working with him of, like, hey, this has been our life for 2 years. Of course, it ends up being much more than that, but that they just sort of, that's been their entire life of just seeing these horrible things, reading these horrible things, and knowing that at the end of the day that nothing's going to really possibly be done, but hopefully you can there's a record of this, and that hopefully that
Yeah.
there's sort of, that people at least know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's not repeat history this way.
Yeah.
If
Now,
possible. So
I do have to admit something, and I'm glad you're both here for this situation, because this is I realized this too late. I had already seen this movie. I looked on to Amazon, and it said 4 minutes left. Right before I was about to watch, I'm like, wait a second, no, I have. Why did it actually autoplay at some point or whatever? And then it all started flooding back to me that I had seen this movie. I had watched this movie already on Amazon, and I remembered it all, and I was like, oh my goodness, I had seen it all, and so the integrity of this show has been called into question because the point is I'm not supposed to have seen these movies. And also the point of this whole thing is that, like, I've made a list of all the movies I've ever seen in my entire life, and I've prided myself for knowing these things and remembering all these things and remembering the fact that I have seen all these movies and what the storylines and everything and all this stuff about it. And how did I forget that I had seen this movie?
okay, first off, your list is wrong. Let's just get to this is the point, right?
Yeah.
Your list is wrong. Yeah.
And how did it take the thing saying you had already watched this for me to remember that? I wrote the list, I wrote a whole thing that I hadn't seen this, and it went through all these checks and balances, and then which I would have remembered it had I started watching it.
Well,
but
hey, just like the government, sometimes the checks and balances fail.
Well put, Alex. Well put.
So I'm sorry.
I think
Does
that's
this ruin the whole show that I had to watch it?
No.
I watched it a second time, but I feel really bad.
No one questions your integrity. No one questions the integrity of the show.
Okay.
I believe it was an honest mistake.
Okay.
And so I think it's
I feel like because of this movie, it's about integrity and about transparency. I felt like I had to publicly say I had to be transparent about this. I could have kept that a secret, but I thought I would share that a mistake was made.
What if someone would have found out? What if they would have taken it to the newspaper?
Yeah, they would have sold the story to the newspaper. It would have been the controversy of Double Feature Movie Club. People would have said, "Well, I'm going to stop tuning in and watching this."
I think there are probably worse things. Just saying. Talk about mundane. So tell me, Alex and Cade, as movie as film creators, which you guys are.
Alex produced a film.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about the approach that they took of going back and forth in time, and then inserting those the descriptions, obviously of the torture, but then inserting, those capsules of what the torture actually looked like? What did you think about how they structured the film?
I thought it was good. Go ahead, Alex.
I liked it. I mean, I found it easy to follow. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really confused at all. I thought like the times that they put it in and like cut back and forth, I thought it made it was all coherent, which is always the risk you run whenever you make something like that, is that you might run into something, where it just doesn't make sense or it doesn't track. But the way it was made, everything made sense. The story made sense. It would go back in time at an appropriate time. It didn't ever just do random cutbacks. It always made sense.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It kept it up, and again, comparing these two movies, roughly the same length, but just this one was much breezier. It had to cover a lot more, cover years.
Yeah, it had to cover a lot of ground and a lot of technical details. Like
yes,
they had to show how skiff worked, how top secret information is handled,
Mm-hmm.
how they had to section off and create this room that
I-
only they could access, and
I love
they had their own server.
when
and
they
oh
go
my
into
God.
the bureaucracy of things. That is one of my favorite things that a movie can
I
do,
know.
is put you into like the fact that there wasn't a printer, and they were like, well, I need a printer, and they were like, well, it's CIA, that printer's get us into trouble, and then like, but just in the fact that it was a room within at the CIA, and then like the sort of bureaucracy of how this sort of works, and the fact that there was like has to be 2 Democrats and 2 Republican staffers, and the fact that like, yeah, I loved all that. It reminds me of like that, what was the movie that we watched with Emma Thompson where she was that judge, of like where they went to really the really into the in depths of what this British court system is. And I love movies that do that. That's always very fascinating and
It goes through the protocol.
And goes through, yeah,
And
I find that
and
fascinating.
really timely for what we're seeing in the news right now. How in the hell did those documents get out there? When you see just in this movie, that one little subset, what they had to go through,
Mm-hmm.
that they, and incredible, just incredible. And I think that everybody should watch this movie.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know if there's anything other things. I did have, I agree, it's really good. I only have 2 notes on this. I like the line, "It's only legal if it works." That was repeated.
Yeah.
That like the CIA sort of like, yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
they had this.
The lawyer, Wu,
Mhm.
what's his name? They actually used his exact memo in the movie,
Mm-hmm.
of where he outlines it's only illegal if it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and that was very that all that was very very fascinating. There are a lot of actors in this come in, like Tim Blake Nelson comes in and plays
Yeah.
it was a physician's
Physician
assistant because they couldn't use doctors and like stuff like that, little
Yeah.
things of like of how this sort of worked and why that was and why he was brought in, because he had to be a physician's assistant because doctors signed they Hippocratic oath that they
Yeah,
do
an
no
oath,
harm. Harm, and so they can't use doctors in these sort of situations. But yeah, well, and then the sort of, yeah, I mean, just all that was. And the other note I had is Ted Levine.
Levine?
Oh, I love him so much. He's the bad guy in this, I guess, one of the bad guys.
Oh,
He's
I know. Brennan.
Yes.
Yes. Play Brennan.
And he's Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs, and he's in a lot. That's the same guy. And then he can play so many great things. He was in On Being a God in Central Florida. He played he was the kind of guy in that. He was the ringleader of that sort of cult. He was playing just different things. He was in one of the Jurassic World movies, but he's just a great villain. I just love that actor. I want to see him in everything. He's just a fantastic, and you don't see him enough and stuff.
John Brennan is now like on CNN and MSNBC as one of their analysts from the CIA.
Yes.
And someone that Maura Tierney, I think she was in ER around the same time George Clooney was. But anyway, she plays a character called Bernadette, who is a composite of several people. But a lot of people have likened her to Jenna Haskell, who is to Trump appointed as the CIA director.
And that's the
Haskell.
end thing that they're referencing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That one of the that one of the people that were headed a black site became a director of the CIA, and that was her. She didn't face much repercussions for that.
No, there were no repercussions for anyone. I don't think, not even the 2 consultants that paid off with $80 million.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
but anyway,
that's the movie. Watch the movie. It's a perfect day to watch. It's sort of about the repercussions of that. I must say, like, as this is, we talk about my age and all that, but I don't remember 9/11. I live in a post 9/11 world always. All the repercussions of it, of course, that was felt, and I do think that was I've always sort of viewed from an American standpoint that is a clear cut between the generations, because everyone older than us remembers that, but no one younger than us, of course, they don't. And that's where I've always viewed this sort of cutout from an American perspective, of course, that being the case. Because you don't remember it, do you, Alex?
Of course you
No, I don't remember it. During the movie, like, I feel like there were parts of like the documents and like the CIA is going.
Remember the War on Terror?
I feel like I remember that. But like I don't remember the documents coming out. I don't remember that being a thing.
That was
but I do remember Lindsey Grant or whoever, whenever he was like, the CIA is out of control or whatever. I remember that one. And so but no, I don't remember anything from 9/11.
Yeah, because this was, this is during the Obama years, and sort of the idea that like they talk a lot about how he ran on being a post-partisan president, and that fact of like, and you sort of see that in a lot of respects even now, of like, we can't sort of the peaceful transition of power, we can't sort of bring up sort of things of the past presidency of anything like that, and the sort of debate that happens internally from that. And I thought that really dealt a lot with that, and it was that was fascinating, and it's sort of how that sort of clouds better judgment of it's about the example of what type of country you want to be and what you can and cannot allow, and still happens to this day. But yes,
it'll never be a perfect union.
Yeah,
all you can do is strive for that. Right?
Yes,
I think that was the point. I think of this movie is all you can do is strive to become this thing that we want to be.
Yeah. Yes.
I will tell you, because I am old enough to remember all this. I've never seen it so partisan as it is now. I think this is something you guys are experiencing that is completely new. There was a time when people, in Washington, D.C. and our state legislators and all that, they would work together for the betterment of the country. And that has really ended and stopped really in the 90s, and some of it was fallout from what happened from 1980 on, because there were huge changes in how the country actually operated during the Reagan years. And so, some of that's the fallout from there. Yeah, it was.
I think what ended up happening was the sort of 9/11 of it all, where like everyone coalesced, they were behind America and everything. And then the sort of break happened where a group of people were like, well, hey, wait a second, there's some really bad things happening here, and that this isn't this. We should sort of be thinking a little bit more about, sort of, instead of going guns blazing into a few of these things. And
there was some real big missteps in there. If you notice that even in this movie, they talk about how they didn't want Powell to know, and that Condoleezza Rice was supposed to keep this from Bush, and because it was almost like you did have this shadow government that was kind of running the war, and we're expanding the war, beyond. And the information that they were given to work with was falsified. I mean, I hate to say that, but but you could see how easily now, watching this movie, that could happen.
Yeah.
Colin Powell went before the UN and regretted it to the end of his life.
Yeah. Destruction. Yeah.
Because he was told this was the facts and these were the truth, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, that's it was a really bad time.
Yeah.
And of course, me being old and all I can think is, damn that Ralph Nader. The Green New Deal would have happened in 2005. Oh, well.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah.
That close.
And then, and you're right, Obama ran on the nonpartisan, we're going to work together, and that lasted, he had 72 days of a majority. That's how long he had. And in that 72 days, they saved the economy because it was about to go bust. No, that actually started in the Bush administration, but they got health care passed.
Yeah.
72 days, and that's all they had. And that, out of 8 years, they had 72 days. You think about that. That is horrible, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So it makes the last 2 years, not even 2 years, right? 15 months. It's freaking remarkable what's been done. Because it just that hasn't happened since the 90s.
Yeah.
Long before you were born, children. Long before you were born.
Yeah. So, I
What
mean,
is
that's, like, that's one of those things. And I remember going to, when we visited New York for, when I was in the honors program, and seeing the memorial there, and seeing that was sort of the first time that it was all just sort of like a thing that happened, and you hear talk about and everything, but that sort of puts you in the perspective of that time period and how I think people felt during that. And like, yeah, I mean, it was the
bank that I worked for was 4 blocks from there, and the hotel that I normally stayed at was across the street, and it busted out of the windows in that hotel, and it was probably a year before I could go stay in that hotel again. And the first time I went back to New York and stayed in that hotel, my room overlooked the hole. They'd cleared everything away by that point, right? But it was just this massive hole. And the subway station from New Jersey stops in the basement of the World Trade Center. You probably knew that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when it was just a hole, people would walk out, and they would walk up these steps outdoor. I mean, they would enter into the hole where the subway station was, and then they would walk up these concrete steps to get to the top. Yeah.
Wow.
It was just, it was amazing and devastating. And a lot of people that I worked with, were traumatized from that. They walked miles to get home, so tough to, it was at
Where were you at when it happened, Diane?
I was working on the 35th floor of the Thanksgiving Tower in Dallas, Texas. And I was on a conference call with people from New York and Columbus, Ohio, and all this stuff. And someone said on the call, oh my God, we have to drop. And they were gone. And it was like somebody else said, well, what happened? That was a New York team. Where did they go? And then 15 minutes later, it was like coming over the intercom to evacuate the building because they didn't know, what was going to happen next. Anyone who worked in any of the downtown facilities, downtown Chicago, they thought Sears Tower could be next. They didn't know. So they came over the intercoms and said, evacuate the building now. And I, being on the 35th floor in downtown Dallas, you can see the flight pattern for Love Field. And I mean, I have never seen planes lined up that close together to get landed, ever in my life. I mean, I don't ever want to see it again. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So because they were just coming in one right after another. It wasn't legal. They weren't keeping legal distances, that's for sure. And you saw fighter jets, same thing. Ava said she was working in a tall building in Chicago and had to evacuate. Yeah. So you just went home,
So they took everyone home, sent everyone home.
Yeah. Sent everyone home. And I sat in my backyard, and it was the first time I'd ever, I lived in Bedford, not far from DFW, that there were no planes in the sky. Because, you're under a landing pattern. Anyway, I did see one fighter jet go over not too long after a little twin engine went over, and the fighter jet went after him. So, they cleared the skies. I mean, within an hour, there were no planes in the sky, which was incredible when you think about of what that took, the logistics of making that happen was pretty amazing. And nobody ever talks about the stuff that goes right. They always talk about the stuff that goes wrong. Mm-hmm. And that was one of those things that it was incredible how fast, they got everyone out of buildings and airliners on the ground. And it was like Ava said, it was several days before there were planes in the skies. A long time before things went back to, I want to say, normal. I didn't fly for over a year. And boy, that first flight too was rough. just it was just nerve-wracking.
Mhm.
And I'm not as, I don't get terrified of flying. I've flown all over the world. But
And did they immediately have like these security things that when they
No.
reopened, or it was a slow rollout, or it was?
part of it was, part of it was slow, part of it was not. It was like, okay, the first thing they're checked for is they put metal detectors up. And then the guy did the thing with the shoe on a plane. Right? One guy does one thing with the shoe on a plane. Now forever we have to take our shoes off to have them, scanned.
Mm-hmm.
Which just kills me that people wouldn't even wear a mask to save grandma. But they'll freaking take their shoes off. Because one guy on a plane. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the liquids, that rolled out a little bit later. And so, it took, it was probably a year or two before it went to where it's at now. And the equipment's gotten a lot better. There was a lot more waving of the wand, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So, but it changed the world. I mean, from a big perspective. When I flew to Sydney, Australia in 1998, I actually got to sit in the cockpit with the pilots for a while.
Wow.
Different
That
time.
would not happen.
Yeah.
That would not happen ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, But, everybody's going to have something in their life where you know exactly where you were at when something happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of those moments.
And
I can remember and I can remember where I was at when John F. Kennedy was shot.
Yeah.
So they sent us all home too. The teachers were crying, and I was in the third grade, and it was so bizarre.
I mean, I will always remember where I was when there was an insurrection at the Capitol building.
Yeah.
You will.
I'll remember
You
that
really
too.
will.
Yeah.
And if you were watching it on TV, that you were just, it blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm retired.
I had
obviously.
COVID.
You had COVID. Okay,
I had COVID. I was on my laptop. I was in Utah, and I had it pulled up, and I watched it like live for like an hour, and then I was sick, so I would like take a nap, watch YouTube, but I kept that open, and I would just glance over at it every 20-30 minutes, just seeing where it was. And there were a couple times where I would just stop what I was doing, turn on the volume again, just look at it and be like, oh my God, this is amazing in the worst possible way.
It's 9/11 was really, truly horrible. It's horrible to see those planes hit the buildings. That is a visual that seeing it, you just can't. It's just unbelievable. But watching that insurrection in so many ways was worse. And because these were Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And and it was the kind of attack that you just can't believe would happen, at all. And I was when it started happening, I was doing something. I walked through it, and I had the TV set on, and here they're showing this live, and I thought, oh my God, I'm going to sit down and watch this. This could be history. And it was right. It wasn't 10 minutes later they were bringing the girl out that got killed, and these journalists that were there was no editing going on.
Yeah.
You knew when she came out on that stretcher, and there was a guy straddling her, and he was giving her CPR. You knew from her face she was dead. And I thought, oh my God, how many more? In some ways it was really worse.
Yeah. We were recording a interview because it was during during the middle of pandemic and all that. We were doing an interview with Cherokee artists and different things, and it they're like, what, did you see this news of it's breaking? And it was just right in the middle of all that and everything, and it was just it's something then you couldn't take your eyes off of it. It was there's different things like that. I remember, of course, right before that, whenever the sort of, from my perspective, was when the pandemic was coming down, and we were like, okay, we're going to take a break here. We're going to all quickly grab your stuff. We're going to go home and work, and it'll only be for a few weeks or whatever. And sort of that, I remember all of that and that sort of situation, that week leading up to it, in March of 2020, of what is happening here and what is about to happen and everything. And then sort of by the end of it being like, okay, it's only be a few weeks.
Yeah.
I've only read about global pandemics.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. It didn't
remember,
go like a movie at all.
No. They were supposed to be a little bit more planned than, or like
I
they were
remember
supposed to
reading-
have a plan, right? Weren't they?
I remember being in class because I had gotten back from Disney, and I remember seeing all this stuff on the news, and then I asked, we're about to go to spring break, and I remember asking, hey, so what if this thing gets bad? Like, and the professor Cox, Renee,
Yeah.
she said, well, we all have a plan just in case. So, if things do go really bad, we do have a plan for like alternative learning, but hope to see you after spring break.
Oh yeah, because it was spring break
happened.
was landing. Yeah.
Hey, there's no class. Yep, spring break was right before spring break, and then it was like, yeah, no, there's not going to be any more in-person classes.
Yeah. No, it was crazy times, and now we're gonna have a little warning banner on our podcast. Everyone, that Spotify will have. Because we've said a few words here that will cause us to have a little COVID-19 banner.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Learn more. Well,
It happens.
Joe Rogan ruined
they-
it for us. That banner has got to be on there.
I was still working whenever they had that bird flu scare. Wasn't that what it was, Ava? Bird flu or something. And we had to develop plans on how we would operate if we couldn't be on site. And I mean, all over the bank, we had to, develop all these prints. So it wasn't whenever they actually had to quarantine and they actually had this come up. It wasn't really that hard for a lot of big corporations because they already had to put together policies for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think but it's like you said, in anything, you never hear about it when things go right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Only when it goes wrong.
Yeah.
And it's something that you guys will have in your history that no one else will ever have.
Yeah.
It's kind of like 9/11.
We've lived through a lot of history.
We've really done it. I mean,
Yeah.
and it has changed the course, of the country and your lives because of it.
Yeah.
And
And I
you've had
remember.
COVID, so Alex, who knows what's going to happen to you when you get old?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking.
I know.
Have you had your polio shot? Did you guys get polio
My what?
vaccine?
Polio, I don't know.
Polio vaccine.
Is that one of those ones they give you when you're a kid? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Check with your
hopefully.
mom. Make sure
Yeah.
you got it.
I know, like, I got like probably 99% of like everything you're supposed to get. Like, I know that, like, I think I got everything I was supposed to up until I was like 13. And then it was just like those ones afterwards.
Yeah.
Well,
I got a tetanus shot.
Sorry.
I know. I need to get a tetanus shot. Yeah.
Well, great.
You definitely want to get the HPV one for sure.
Yes.
Please, both of you, go get the HPV one.
Well, great.
You won't regret it.
To wrap, we really went off topic like we have. This is why our
This gets into the whole idea of politics and the government, how important the government is in our lives.
Yes, thank you,
every
Diane.
day.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't consider myself a socialist or a communist, but at the same time, if you have no government, right, well, then what do you do, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
And
Anyways,
you have to have the checks and
All
balances.
right.
so what are you gonna give
Proven
this?
here, Diane is an anarchist.
I am not an anarchist. No. An anarchist doesn't want any government at all.
Okay,
No.
Diane, what are you gonna
Okay.
give this movie? Would you recommend it? And then also, what's your emoji?
I would recommend it if you loved like All the President's Men, Kill the Messenger, all these political dramas. I love those kind of movies myself. This one is very complicated. You have to really watch it. I would definitely recommend anyone who loves this kind of thriller to watch it. The acting is stellar in it. I was surprised that Adam Driver had so much range.
Adam Driver is considered one of the great actors of today's time.
I can't see what Ava is. That a juice box?
I think it's notes. It's a report. Maybe it's,
two
a
papers,
it's
pen
a
and
report.
paper.
Yeah, she got to do it. See, I'm stuck with. I have to do
Drinks.
drink. At one
Is there
point,
drink-
somebody had some scotch, right? Pour me a couple of fingers of scotch.
Yeah. I'm sorry, those are the rules, Diane.
Give me 5.
I would change it if I could, but I don't have the power
it's
to
okay.
change it from being not drinks. How many did you want?
You have 5.
Oh, you can 5. Huh? That's quite a bit. Yeah. I don't have the power to change it.
You see a movie like this, you need to drink 5 of these things.
Yes. I'm going to give it the American flag.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Alex, what are you going to give it? You could just do thumbs or something if you want to.
Or you can steal
thinking out of 5, I'd give it.
What's a report?
I would give it 4 stars.
Great.
Stars.
Like stars and stripes. And stripes.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
So 4 stars.
You would give it 50 stars. That's 50 stars on the flag.
On the flag.
Great. We used to have more star rating and thumbs and did different things. It's someone said as per Ava said that she'd recommend the Looming Tower miniseries. I haven't ever heard of that. I'll have to look into that.
I wrote that down, Ava. I'm going to watch that because it's just kind of a prequel. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Great. We're going to head into our little preview time, and then we got to tell you what next week's things are.
I just thought of another one.
Oh.
It could have been water droplets and planks of wood.
Oh, no.
Alex.
No, Alex, no. No.
Alex,
no.
Jesus.
No. That is the
I was trying to think of something.
And we're cutting away to our preview time.
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
Oh, when it comes to entertainment, you just can't beat a good film. Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Great.
You can't beat a good film, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great. Well, so this is the part of the show where we tell you what to watch next week, hopefully before. That would be the case, or, like some people, they'll listen to our recommendations on whether or not to watch things. Either way is fine. But our next week is not Adam Driver night. I'm so sorry to disappoint people. It's not another Adam Driver night. We are having the movies Flower and Tragedy Girls, which not as highly rated. Tragedy Girls is supposed to be good, but we'll see. Female-led kind of crime, I think is what we said, was the tie-in there. 2 movies with that. So I don't know who our co-host will be, Diane. Might just be the 2 of us. We shall see. But we can do that.
I don't know about these movies.
I don't know either. It's you have on here. It has Flower has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes. So split. And then Tragedy Girls has 84. They're both released in 2017 though, so also that's fun. They also do both have it says they're both a slash comedy, so they do have some comedic elements apparently.
Yeah, okay. Adam Scott is in one of them, and Catherine Hahn.
Yes,
I
fun.
don't know these other people, but well, this should be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I don't regret watching these movies.
This might be a. Do we? Yeah. So I mean, I guess last one we all.
Oh, when the pie came out. In Paterson, I almost.
Oh my god!
I had a moment.
The pie.
Well,
pie.
we forgot to mention the pie because we are now a pie podcast, where we mention all the pies that appear on the screen.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
I'll tell you, truthfully though, I don't think that sounds like a bad pie if it's seasoned right.
I don't think she. I don't know. Did she cut up the Brussels sprouts?
I don't know.
I mean, when you saw him chewing, it's like he had a whole Brussels sprout. Yeah.
Here's my perspective of the thing is like, I think that that's not a bad idea. I think like if it's really cheesy and it has Brussels sprouts and the Brussels sprouts is seasoned good, that actually sounds incredible. My opinion. I'll stand on that. A cheddar
Cade
Brussels
would
sprout
probably
pie.
like a shrimp pie.
I would like a
because
shrimp
you're
pie.
a cheddar goblin.
I'm a cheddar goblin.
You are.
Cheddar Goblin's still pretty high up on my list of things that we've seen. Just that scene. Only
Just that scene.
Only that scene.
Only that scene.
Yeah. Well, great. So, Alex, have you enjoyed being on our show again?
Yes, I forgot how much it hurts my back. But which is why my camera angle continues to change. Maybe eventually I'll learn and I'll set up against the wall before we even start.
Or do you have a chair somewhere that you could sit on?
That is a possibility as well.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to look further into other things, because boy, my back.
Well, that's good. I had a fun time with you, Alex. I'm glad that is there anything you want to plug, Alex?
Follow me on TikTok at Claire Bubble.
Anything that you've posted recently on TikTok that you would like to plug, Alex?
Yes. You can also we have some TikToks featuring our good friend Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a 3-part story on my TikTok. So at Claire Bubble, and you can listen to our podcast, Cade and Friends, on any podcast platform.
Yeah. Right now it's the one Alex wasn't on. It's with Kenna and Andrew. This most recent one's a good episode, but he'll be on I believe the next one. I have to look at what our schedule is, but I'm pretty certain we got a few that Alex has done, and we'll need to record some more with Alex. Do you enjoy Cade and Friends, Diane?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I enjoy. Yes, I do. There are some of the conversation is enlightening.
Mm-hmm. She loves little Nikki.
Little Nikki, yeah, so cute. Yeah. And like I said, there's some that are enlightening. I've laughed at a lot of it. Alex, mm-hmm. You're a very entertaining young man.
Every one of my friends that I talk to is like, it's always Cade that gets the spotlight. It's all because Cade just adds these small little quick remarks that are just like they're just amazing. And I will say, just re-listening, especially on the TikToks, it's just you get just like, it'll be a conversation, then Cade just pops in and adds something, and it's always amazing. What I enjoy is that
bring. I'm gonna throw some praise on you, Alex. You're the perfect co-host for that show. I think that you keep the engine running and everything of that, and you have such a unique perspective with all the stuff that we talk about, and it's really fun. You keep the energy up and everything, and I like your side remarks and everything on different stuff. I think
thank you.
You find a different angle than when I'm looking at with that, and that's what makes you a perfect co-host whenever we drill into interviewing people, is that when we're talking about a topic, we kind of come at it from two different angles, but still on topic.
And
I would like to do a Cade and Friend with you.
Oh, Diane wants to do a Cade and Friends with you, Alex.
I do.
I think it'd be great. Well, we can talk about how we have done separate illicit drugs on Space Mountain and Splash Mountain.
Exactly. Exactly.
So LSD and crack cocaine.
I have saved all my good stories for the podcast I do with you.
Great.
We have. it's just I find it funny that there's TikToks of Diane now talking about drugs in Space Mountain, and I have now a TikTok of drugs in Splash Mountain.
It's amazing how often there's themes throughout Cade and Friends, and like the amount that that like Disney comes up, even when you're not there, it comes up every time, and Disneyland and Disney World, all that, and then in your cases, yes, there's a TikTok of Diane talking about LSD in Space Mountain. There's one of you of crack on Splash Mountain. It's really the two.
Well, I thought mine was a public service announcement. I mean, instead of doing LSD, just go ride Space Mountain.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think that classifies as a public service announcement. Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to send that into a few public TV stations, and hopefully they'll play it.
I'm sure they will.
Hi, I'm Diane, and I'm here to tell you not to do drugs. You can just ride Space Mountain.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Gaylord Sartain, Gary Busey was still on Saturday nights in Tulsa, Oklahoma, I'm pretty sure they'd give me a spot.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think so.
You guys never went and watched any of those YouTubes, did you?
Yeah. You recommended us that last time we were together, and
yes, you need to go check them out. Mazeppa Papazorde. Yeah. You guys would have been great. You are like what I envision, the reincarnation of that show. You would. Yes.
Sure.
You've got to watch it.
Thank you.
I think that's a compliment, right? That's a compliment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's before the days of podcasting. So, yeah. I think you would enjoy it, and I think that you would see yourselves.
Well, perfect. So I'm glad you enjoyed it, Alex. I'm glad that you got to join. You fit us in your busy schedule.
I'm glad we didn't have any disagreements.
We didn't have any disagreements. Yeah.
My Wi-Fi worked out.
Yeah.
Semi-okay.
Yeah.
So this is our moment of the podcast where we say what we're grateful for. Yeah.
I'm grateful for the beard, Alex. The beard's looking, really good. Yeah.
Thank you.
I think, I guess I'll tell you guys here, I think I'm going to cut my hair short this week.
Whoa.
Yeah. I think I'm done with the long hair. It's gotten, which I've done it for now a few years and everything, and I think I'm going to do it. I might chicken out the last second and do a half measure, but I think I am. I wish I could part it in the middle like all of those Gen Z kids could, but my hair's not made that way. But all of them parted in the middle, and it looks great, and I can't part my hair in the middle, or it looks awful, and it's the biggest tragedy of my life.
Hair grows back, Cade.
No, but I'm just I
no
don't
matter
know.
what you do. Yeah, no matter what you do, it'll
But
grow
it took
back.
a long time to grow my hair out. I cut it and it would get cut and everybody. It took during the pandemic and everything, and it's a sad situation because I don't feel like I'll ever have my hair this long again in my life. And so it's.
Are we
it's
still
almost,
on air?
Yes, we are. And it's just something that I'm dealing with personally that I'm just like, I don't know.
So you really related to Paterson. I related to Paterson because your hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked about the movies, and they were
the
all
other
really
bus driver. The other bus driver, who every day said, had filled him in on what was happening in his life. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm having a Paterson moment. I think
Great.
it's going to be, I'm going to add that to my lexicon.
Mm-hmm. Having a Paterson moment.
That's right.
Yeah. We didn't talk about the fact that the city and him was the same name, but that was an odd thing too. But we just mentioned
Paterson.
it.
I said that in my intro.
That was, but in the sort of realization of that, like the lady asks him that at the bar, and it's like, is it a nickname? Like I think she walked through the same questioning that I had. I'm like, is he just going by that because people nicknamed him that? But no, it was, I guess, he said his actual name. Okay, that's our show. Be sure to like and subscribe to Cade and Friends. You can watch us. All the buttons. You can watch us live Sunday nights at 6 p.m. Central on the Cade Thomas YouTube channel. We're also on Twitch now, the Cade Thomas. You can watch us there if Twitch is more your thing, or in case you watched it here, if you watched it on Twitch, thanks for watching. Later, next day, Monday, we have it going out on all of the podcasting platforms. You can listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. And there, if you listen to it there later, like and subscribe to everything there too. Click the buttons, rate us 5 stars, all the buttons. That's it. I think I'm getting better at that outros.
You can show what Ava posted. She clicked all the buttons.
Clicked all the buttons. Perfect.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for joining us, Alex. Hope we have you at some point in the future. If not, you can get your Alex doses on Cade and Friends. Great.
And TikTok.
And TikTok. I love those TikToks.
Good. I like them too. And Diane and I will be here next week on Double Feature Movie Club. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See y'all.